Everybody. Hi everyone and welcome to yet another CTA webinar. For those of you that don't know, I'm Alison Humphreys, Director at Pro-Recruitment Group. We specialise in placing tax professionals throughout their career and building tax teams, both in practice and in-house. But enough about that. That's not what we're here for. Nit, can you give us a little bit of an intro on why you're famous for doing this, please?
Okay, thanks, Ali. Hi, guys. My name's Nit. I'm a senior tax tutor at BPP. I've been here for over 25 years, and I'm grateful to Ali and her amazing team for kind of hosting this. We know the heat's on. We know the pressure's on. We want to help you. We want to make sure that the last, few days count and you get the most from it. And yeah, and Ali will tell you, just get involved. Let us help you, and you've got this.
So what the aim of today is to talk about this last week. Obviously, your exams are next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on what you're doing. But we want to make this as interactive as possible and for you to get out of this while you're here. It's not very often you get to sit in front of someone who knows how to put people through exams and you get to ask them questions. So please, guys, pop your questions in the Q&A or the chat, whichever, doesn't matter, whichever you find easier. We can go through them as we go. I've got some questions I'm going to ask Nit to get the conversation flowing, but we're relying on you guys to pop your questions in so that we can answer them as we go, because this session is here for you. Nit, staying calm and positive. Lots of people panic at this stage. It's a week to go. They feel like they've forgotten everything. What's your advice to people who are panicking and people who are going, oh my God, I don't know anything. What am I going to do?
Yeah, hi Ali. I get this a lot. I'm getting lots of LinkedIn messages at the moment, individual emails from BPP, non-BPP students. Look, no matter what I say, okay, it really does come down to your mindset at this moment. I would say, from my experience, I was perhaps the most emotional, the most vulnerable. All the nerves were kicking in at the time, and I see my children going through this when they're doing their exams, so, and genuinely, and I 100% believe in this, right? What your mind will do, right? It will literally pull you away and convince you that you can't do this. It will kind of emphasize what you can't do. Okay. And what's amazing is if you just close your eyes, go for a walk, clear your head, and just detach yourself from your room and your books and everything else, and just go and clear your head, and just calmly, whatever paper you're doing, think about what you do know. Yeah. Think about all the mocks you did, that the questions you got right, whether you got 20%, 30%. Yeah, there's so many positives on this journey that you forget. I forgot. Yeah. And just have that little bit of self-belief, which is what Ali and I want to do for you here, right? Okay. And one of the things, and I'm really hot on this, I need every single person on this record session right now, and those watching the recording, this is your moment not to shine. No, that's on the day of the exam. Your moment right now is to make those mistakes. Yeah, you go in and get things wrong, because every mistake you make now is golden, because you're technically growing. Yeah, the pressure you've put on yourself is, and a lot of students do this, Ali, is they think I've got to be technically ready today. Yeah, the exams next week. Ali, that doesn't work. It's a bit like a driving test, right? Okay, it's like a driving test. You're only ready on the day. Yeah, you're always going to have that lesson beforehand, yeah, where things go wrong. Okay, and students really beat themselves up, Ali, thinking, I've got to be ready now. I shouldn't be making mistakes. And this pressure builds. And for some students, Ali, it backfires. Yeah, whereas if students actually embrace, Nit's right, Ali's right. Yeah, let's make these mistakes now. Okay, and I think that's the first most important thing. And build those watch out lit sheets, which Ali, you're an expert now in explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's the watch outs, it's the admin, and use the next few days. Right now, make the list of all the topics that make you cry. I still have a few as a tutor that I don't like teaching. Okay. Okay. And literally get those done. Get those done now. Yeah. Have a lovely weekend where you do all the nice things. Yeah, and just, this is your moment.
So these last 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
are we doing any past papers or is it just technical revision?
Okay. My personal view, the exams are next week, right? I've told my students, and I've got a few on this cohort, which is nice to see. No dodgy questions. And I've told my lot is Friday should be past paper cutoff.
Okay.
Okay, personally. All right. Now, that also depends on, I'm assuming they've taken time off. There'll be some of you that won't have the time off. Then obviously you need to work with this. Okay. But if you can cut off by Friday where you stop learning, your learning has to stop at some point. Okay. What I want my students to do is I've said, look, I want you to go back and read every single question, read line by line. Read every mock you've done, every progress test you've done, whether it be Tolley's, Kaplan, BPP, who are all brilliant. Okay. All right. And what you need to do is, can you process the transaction? Because CTA is about transactions, ATT is about transactions. Can you spot the transaction? Yeah. Can you then think in your head, what are those top 4 or 5 points? Yeah. What you want to do, the more questions you start reading, okay, you're going to pick up speed in the exam. You're training your brain to spot issues. You mentally, physically rest up. Okay. And Ali, it's a game changer. I've had students say to me, Nick, I got 30% in a mock. Ali, for 25 years, okay, I've seen thousands of students get 20, 35% in a mock and go and get 70% a week later. Yeah, because positivity. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got a good 20, 35% base. The pass mark's 50%. What are you worried about? You got
Yeah.
enough time to jump. It's not 100% pass mark, and I think let's get rid of that huge burden that you put on yourself, okay, and really enjoy these. You have to mentally enjoy these days where you're going to learn, you're going to get better, and you're going to get through.
Okay. So making mistakes is key.
100%.
Because obviously we learn from our mistakes, we
Yeah,
hope.
yeah,
So this week you've got 3 days left, say
yeah,
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and today. For 3.5 days. We've got three and a
yeah.
half days left. What should students be doing in these next 3.5 days?
Right. After this session, personally, go for a walk. And if it's raining, take an umbrella. All right. Literally go for a walk. Okay. And what you need to do is come back, make a list of those topics you don't like. Yeah, Ali, this is the biggest problem, right? Some students don't do this, right?
Mhm.
Make a list of what you don't like and start working through those topics. Have a quick read of the memory joggers, the manuals, okay? Don't spend too much time on it. Look at the little worked examples. If you're at Tolley's, Kaplan, and BPP, they will have tutor support, Ali. They're there, okay, where you can ask for clarification. Okay, they won't do a reteach, okay, but you can ask for clarification and just boost your confidence. Yeah, ask yourselves, why don't I get this? What is it that I don't get? Okay, and ask a colleague, ask someone at work. But your time now for the next 3 days is to reach out and ask for help. Yeah, I actually had a non-BPP student call me today, and I did get annoyed. Okay, the only bit that annoys me, Ali, is where what some people are doing is they're technically nitpicking now. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? I call it technically hallucinating, where they're saying, "Oh, what if this comes up and a partner does this?" And I think, "Oh my God, right? What are you doing?" Right? And then what they're doing is they're writing their own examples. Yeah, and that is a nightmare student for me because Tollies have written these amazing examples. Don't change them. There's a reason why those examples are there. We can help you if you reference an official, not a student one, because it's not been tested. So people panic on the numbers, and I'm going to actually say to you, follow your methodology. If your numbers are wrong, but you've pretty much got most of the methodology right, you're still going to pass. Yeah, but you got these few students, right, who want to get technical perfection. Yeah, that's where they're adding that pressure. Let it go. Let it. I'm officially telling you, let it go. Yeah, focus on the written answers, the coverage, the technical points, okay, that all your tutors have shown you, then you're going to get through. Learn your pro formas and just make sure you can apply. It's the application, Ali, for the advanced technical papers and the APS papers. That's really key.
I think also is not second guessing. You touched on there, people saying, do you think this will be in the exam? Do you think that will be? And what we've learned, I think what the audience, if you're a retaker, for example, is thinking, oh, there was a real heavy transfer pricing question in the exam in
Yeah.
May, so there won't be one in October. I don't need to study it. And thinking in that mindset just absolutely trips you up, because you cannot second guess what the examiner is going to put into that paper. And if you don't know transfer pricing, that's what you need to be focusing on this week.
Absolutely. And and Ali, we've had this chat about why so many people fail APS. And the reason why a lot of people fail APS, not because APS is difficult, is what some of these students do, not all students, what some students do, they shortcut their AT learning. Does that make sense? They do these statistics and bar charts and what's come up and what hasn't come up. And so when they go into APS, right, they've shortchanged themselves. They're not technically fit for purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you're doing APS after AT, take the AT really seriously. Some people haven't liked my comments. This one student got 50% on AT, and I said, I'm struggling on APS. I said, I'm not surprised. I said, because you've only got half the knowledge. You don't need to be an AT expert before people start panicking, but just know core aspects and you're going to be fine. Don't shortcut it.
And
Yeah.
we talked about making mistakes. So can you talk a bit about how students should handle mistakes when they make them this week?
Yes. So what it is, right, is when you're to make so there's different reasons why we make mistakes. Okay. The easiest one is you don't know. Okay, so you've read and reviewed a question. I wouldn't do questions to time personally now. I would read and review and just get through as many as you can, right? If the mistake is a knowledge gap, I think that's quite straightforward. You go back, you build your technical base, learn how to spot the clues and the issues. Yeah. Okay, and you're ready if that comes up. Okay. That's your basic mistake. The mistake that frustrates me a lot is where it's a careless misread. Does that make sense? So where you haven't read, you've made a judgment. What some students do, they'll read half a sentence and they'll make a judgment. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I had a student recently who read a question and then wrote, oh, I know BADR doesn't apply, business asset disposal relief doesn't apply, but I wrote everything about investors relief. Okay. And I didn't get any marks. And I said, send me the question, had a look at the question, Ali, and what the student hadn't picked up. And it's a really nice niche rule that for investors relief, you don't just buy the shares, because normally you get relief whether you bought the shares, you got gifted the shares. Investors relief is really annoying. You actually have to subscribe for the shares. Yeah. And these shares were purchased from another shareholder.
Right.
Does that make sense? So this student had made this judgment before finishing the question and reading, actually, how did you acquire those shares? So what you should be doing over the next few days is having a little checklist of all the key things. It's a bit like when you go on holiday. If you're hopefully like me and Ali and make a list, okay, all right, where so you know that when you get to your destination, you've got everything. It's a bit like in the exam. You're equipped in your head. These are the things I'm going to check, I'm going to look for. Okay, and if you do those little checklists, you're technically sharpening it up. That's what I want people to do. So each mistake has a positive outcome if you're gonna address it. So watch out for the careless misreading and the judgment making. And I think the last one, Ali, really, really big for advanced technical is don't knowledge dump. This, Ali, I just get so I was speaking to a student right now, okay? So and I know, Ali, in a nice way, tax isn't your thing where technical, okay? But if you said to me, Nit, I'm stuck on the road, which way do I go? And I say to you, Ali, you can go left or right. I know you're going to sit there thinking in your head, well, that wasn't helpful. Yeah. And students do that in the exam, where, for example, there's something called a balancing allowance or a balancing charge. So one's an extra profit or one's a deduction. And so what these students do, they write both. But the examiner is actually giving you the information where it's only going to be one outcome. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so they're wasting time writing all this theory where they're not applying. If they just applied everything, okay, they would get all the marks very quickly and they'd finish the paper with time to make a sandwich. That's what it is. And people look at the official solutions thinking, I need to replicate that because the examiners told me the whole theory on BADR, business asset disposal relief. You don't need to do that. Start looking at the marking grids. The marking grids are better than the solutions because they're more of a realistic assessment of what you need to produce in the day. And I say it to all my students, write the person's name. Ali qualifies for gift relief because the shares in Ali Limited are a business asset. Yeah, rather than giving me a whole chapter on verse on gift relief without any reference to the client, that's where you're dropping those marks.
Application, love that.
It's key, Ali. Whether it's APS or AT, definitely.
Okay, love it. And so actually what we're doing actually very nicely there is we're talking about strategy for the actual exam. Because by now it's obviously we've got 3.5 days to make a difference on content for anything we're really struggling on, but it's how you actually apply it and what strategy tips you've got going into that exam. So Nitin, what I'd like to maybe touch on here is not only sort of tips for answering the papers and stuff, but just for anybody here who's a first timer, what are they expecting when they go into that exam hall? What can they expect? How can they expect all the, the environment? Let's try and really prepare these students for walking in and taking that exam.
Yeah, so one of the first things, if you haven't done it already, why not? You'll get a bit of a nit telling off. Make sure you're exam 4 compliant. Yeah, so the first timers, especially those that have done ACA, yeah, and I love ACA students, but you guys, this is a completely different experience to what you've done in ICAW. Okay, so exam 4, it has its quirks. Okay, you need to be comfortable. Do not, and we get so many people complaining afterwards, oh, I couldn't do this on exam 4, I couldn't do that. Well, that's your fault. Okay, don't blame anyone else but yourself. Okay, so and that's the first thing. Second
What's
thing,
exam 4 compliant? Just for me who doesn't know anything about that.
So it's a weird form of Word and Excel.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So people think it's just straight Word and Excel, and Libby knows more about this than I do because she plays around, she tinkers with it a lot. Okay, and it's how you create certain tables and columns. Does that make sense? So it's a bit like jumping into your driving test, right, in a car you've never driven before. That's the problem.
Got it.
Yeah, you got to test drive that car before you know. Yeah, some students don't do that. They're already at a major disadvantage. Yeah, so that's the first thing. So yeah. The second thing, okay, the second thing is I would say it's noisy. Yeah, the exam hall is noisy. Okay, I remember you can't take watches in. They're really strict on what you can't take in smart watches or anything. So do make sure, read the CIOT rules. The rules are very fair. I agree with them. Okay, you may want to take some noise cancelling earbuds or whatever.
Buds or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. I think they do provide them as well, but personally, I'll probably get my own. Okay, but and I think also as well, and I've had some of my really good students actually have issues with IT. Okay, and I'm going to say this to you right now. If you have an IT issue on the day in the exam, take down the person's name that you're speaking to. Okay, all right. It's very rare. It doesn't happen all the time, but do be prepared. Okay, and just take down the person's name, what the issue was, how long you had to wait for, because sometimes some exams there were delays. The computer, it's very rare though. I do want to stress that, and contact the CIOT, contact your tutor immediately. Okay, because some people wait until the results come. Oh, by the way, I had a problem. There's nothing we can do. Yeah, you need to let us know immediately so we can escalate it with the CIOT, who are amazing at kind of dealing with those issues. Okay, but we do need it ASAP. Yeah, and I need detail. You know, people, yeah, and when I ask that person, you take that person's name, then you lack that evidence, that data
Yeah.
gathering. Yeah, so this was the issue. What did they can make note of all the timings? I think that's really, really key.
Okay.
So yeah, and also Libby had a student who semi left. They felt they left enough time. There was an issue on the road. Got to the exam hall late. Couldn't sit the exam. Yeah, so leave enough time. Yeah, I'm one of these people that would get to an airport 10 hours before, much to my family's annoyance. All right, I take no chances. Yeah, I'm very risk averse. Okay, and that's me. So yeah, please, 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 don't take any chances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what the exam environment's like. How about sort of the strategy for questions? And, I remember when we had Autumn Murphy on the webinar, actually there was a difference in opinion of, do you do the hard questions first or the easy questions first? Or do you do them in order? Like, Nick, what's your tip?
Do you know what? You know how much I love Autumn. And if she's going to be watching this at some point and she's going to be sending me a WhatsApp message, no, Nick, I disagree.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that, and you know what? See, for me, and I'm gonna bring Autumn into this as well. There are some students who will go into that exam apprehensive. Autumn was one, despite all her prizes and everything, she'd go into that exam and she would say, "I need the first question to warm up."
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And so, I love boxing, Ali, right? So
Yeah.
if Autumn was a boxer, she would go into the ring and she would literally not even punch that person. She'd be jabbing like that. Yeah, because Autumn's sussing out the ring. So she wants to build her confidence. And with Autumn, she's the kind of person, I really hope she watches this. With Autumn, what she will probably do in the last round, she'll do that knockout punch and that person's down. So
Yeah.
she's built her momentum up. And if that's you, then you crack on. Okay, you do that. And even I have a few students who disagree with me. No, 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 I'm not going to do what you say. If anyone's into boxing and has seen the original Mike Tyson boxing matches. So Mike Tyson would literally, as soon as that bell goes, how most boxers get off their stool and walk into the middle. Mike Tyson would jump up and run at the opponent. Yeah, literally, and just knock the guy out. That's me. Okay, so when I go into the exam, I'm in combat mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will go for the most difficult question, the one that I know. My brain's like, okay, what is this? And a lot of students are bought into that. So what I'm saying to my students is, look, if you've got a bit of combat mode in you, hit those harder questions first because your energy levels are high, the adrenaline is on point. Okay. There will be one question or two questions. It could be a computation or a nice written question. Because these exams are 3.5 hours without additional time.
Mm.
When you get to 3 hours and your energy levels are very, very low, ski downhill. Does that make sense? So you're
Yeah.
literally like, and also for me, what I would do is I'd look at those two questions, Ali. Let's say one's a 15 marker, one's a 20 marker, 35 marks there. In my head, I know I can get 20.
Yeah.
I've already clocked 20, right? So all I've now got to concentrate for 3 hours is to get a minimum 30. Yeah, and I've passed. And for a lot, and I'm sure there are quite a few of you. And in fact, on the chat, it'll be interesting whether you're going to jab like Autumn, yeah, and knock out later, or
Yeah.
actually go. And it'll be nice. It'll be nice to get your thoughts, yeah, because there's no right or wrong to this. But Ali's right. Ali's absolutely right. You've got to have a strategy in the exam that you then don't deviate from.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think 100%. Is it sort of 10 minutes you'd allow for them to read the questions and then suss out what order
No,
in which they're going to do it?
two.
Two
Literally,
minutes.
yeah, you haven't got time, Ali. See, in these exams, what you've got to do, I think a lot of students will agree with me here. And guys, do because what again, another brilliant question. What I say to my students is, if like for say taxation of large corporates, my students will know from if it's a computation, yeah, because the requirements are quite clear,
Mhm.
or have key phrases like corporate interest restriction, CFC. They will know which ones, yeah, okay. And I think have a quick scan, maybe maximum 5 to say, right, prioritize what you want to do. Yeah, you do what you don't want to do in a CTA exam personally is just start with question one and just go across. Okay, I think you got to factor that in, that you're going to look for your challenging questions and your the ones that you like. Also, mindset, Ali, is, guys, listen, getting serious in it here for 2 minutes. I know what I say to my students is the examiner never ever writes the same question again, but similar transactions will come up, similar issues will come up. They won't be identical, there'll be curveballs. Okay, so just remember that you've got 6 new problems coming up in each AT paper. If you flick your mindset that way, you're not going to get freaked out. Does that make sense? Because a lot of students, and so Ali, when I did revision, right, my if I've got any TOLCG students here, you can share what I did to you, how I tormented you. What I did, Ali, is on my first, I would set them some really tough questions, and I then put, could you get 2 to 3 marks here? Could you get 5? Was it good or was it easy? And those students that wrote 2 to 3 actually could have got 7 or 8.
Oh,
Does that
wow.
make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've taught them not to get intimidated. Does that make sense? It's a power of self-belief. Look, keep going, keep going. There are easy marks in there. You've got
Yeah.
this. And what these papers do, they terrify you, Ali, right? They, even me, when I look at a question, oh my God, but just calm down, take a deep breath, draw a picture, look at a structure. And that's what you want to be practicing the last few days. That's why I say to people, read as many questions as you can. Yeah,
Yeah.
that shock and awe will diminish. Your strength and combat mode will increase. And you're not, and there'll always be 1 or 2 rogue questions you can still pass. Yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of students like, oh, it's that question that it's because I failed. Well, what happened to the other 85 marks? You know, so yeah.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it, actually. One of our audience has just commented and she said, actually, I quite like to scan all the questions and then answer one that I know is going to give me a confidence boost, and then I'm settling into the exam. So exactly
Yeah,
the same as autumn.
yeah, yeah.
Love it. Okay. Any other strategy tips for the actual exam at all, Nick, that we've missed out?
There is, again, it's I say it all the time, Ali, but no one listens but you. All right. I would say that from now until, you get some students that just love to waffle.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what you can say in 1 sentence, they say in 5. And they don't realize that for the other 4 sentences, you're not getting any extra marks, but you're dropping marks because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to get those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I get a little bit upset that these guys have worked so hard, but they refuse to get rid of their bad habits. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just it's and I want to give one example. Okay, so Ali, if you were to gift Lauren, yeah, some shares, right? Okay, I this is what I would write in the exam. I would literally write, Ali qualifies. This is the gift of shares by Ali will be subject to CGT. It's a chargeable disposal. Done. 1 mark. Okay. I will then say the shares qualify for gift relief because they're a business asset. Another mark. Because the shares are in an unquoted trading company. Another mark. So I'm literally every point. That's what you want to be doing. Every sentence is a mark. If I spend a whole paragraph just talking about why it's a chargeable disposal, which people do, you've made the point. You're not getting anything extra. Yeah, or people want to quote section numbers for a laugh. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, no one, why? You're not impressing anyone. You're dropping marks. Yeah, just keep it relevant. Yeah, but then the key words for that, there'll be a joint election. The impact on you is there's no CGT. The impact on Lauren is she gets a lower base cost. Yeah. And so and that's what you want to do with every AT paper is have those key words into a short sentence, each one. You
Yeah.
do that, you've got enough time in the exam to pass.
Yeah.
And that's key, Ali. Students need to do that. What they do, they don't go for coverage, they go for depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they don't hit the mark opportunity which they need.
So what we're saying here is you don't need to explain the legislation that you've quoted because
No.
the examiner knows that you know it because you've put it in the right context. You don't need to explain and show that you know what it means.
Beyond the tax impact. No.
Yes.
And you get, especially the lawyers are a nightmare here, and I'm a lawyer myself, as you know, that they'll copy out the legislation thinking that's impressing the examiner. Yeah, it's not. The candidates you deal with, people want people that can apply it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done for finding it, but you're not going to get any marks for like just copying it out. It's just technical, what I would call technical immaturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice question from the audience, actually. One of our favourite questions, Nick. How should we approach the APS paper when first starting?
Easy to the pre-scenes are out. Okay. And I think, Ali, if you can post those links again on LinkedIn. So we've done a whole load of videos and everything. APS is about, and there will be certain people who are going to start posting on LinkedIn, oh, I think this might be coming up, or we'll do this. They tried it for the last one. None of that stuff came up. Okay. APS, you've just got to just keep it simple. My guys know this. Okay. Don't predict. Yeah, I mean, I've looked at the OMB APS question. I think it's amazing. I've had some people email me and say, Nick, do you think it's this? And I've politely told them, yeah, yeah. So, and I genuinely don't know. I've seen the pre-scenes for the others as well. You can't call it. Yeah, you can't call it. APS is about you being put in a client situation. Yeah, so long as you keep it client, I always say this, if you keep it client centric, always look at that. What matters? What matters to the client? Yeah, if you focus on what matters to the client, you will always pass APS.
Yeah. So the APS, I suppose, from everything I've learned is, are you a tax advisor?
Yeah.
Not can you read tax? It's can you advise a client, isn't it? It's got to be client centric.
Oh God, yeah. And my students know how much they've been told off. I'll give you an example. One of my students got a really big telling off from me. So let's imagine you're the client, and you've said to me again, you want to give shares to Kevin, right? So this student wrote, what if I gave Ali advice if she wants to give shares to Lauren? I went mental. I said, where does it say in the question that Ali wants to consider giving it to Lauren? She goes, oh, maybe just in case. But do you get my point? So what a lot of students do, Ali, in the APS paper is they go off tangent. They then start writing about what they think the client needs rather than what the examiner wants to test. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the big issue. The judge, they get marked down on judgment, they won't pass.
Okay, fine. Any advice for the OMB advanced technical paper?
Like what?
Question from the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Know your technical content.
Yeah, go on, Ali. You do this one.
Read the questions and decide which ones you're going to tackle first.
Yeah.
And don't spend too long on reading them.
Yeah.
And don't quote legislation.
Yeah.
You're not getting any points for it. Just give the examiner what they've asked for.
That's it. Look, the advice for all AT papers is the same, right? Short applied sentences, not a post-it note PowerPoint presentation. Okay, don't get obsessed with numbers, all right, because they're going to throw stuff in you're not going to be able to do. Okay, they're not yeah, just keep applying to scenario. I've just seen the case law one, Ali, if I can deal with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, have you got any advice for highlighting / using legislation, and any advice on remembering case law, and how in depth do we need to know them?
Okay, so case law, if the way that I would teach case law to a student would be, say for OMB Advanced Technical, there are probably 5 cases. Yeah, you've got the law shipping case, and I think you just need to know the judgment. Yeah, that the whole point about the law shipping case was that the expenditure was capital. Yeah, and just a brief reason why. Yeah, because the asset wasn't bought in a usable state. So basically, what it was, they bought a restaurant, okay, and it had to be, everything had to be still be constructed, okay. So you couldn't use what they bought. The asset couldn't be used, okay. So that was deemed capital expenditure. So they couldn't get a deduction. The examiners tested that so many times. Whereas the Odeon cinema, the buyers bought a cinema which was still operational. So all the repairs that they made were still revenue because the asset was still usable. And that's it. Yeah, and think about how you spot that in the exam. That's it. But don't spend too long on case law. Yeah, only the cases that your tutors have recommended. Yeah, like my students have been told which ones to know. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you recommend to make a plan in an exam for a question, given that you have less than 2 minutes to read each question? Advanced Technical OMB.
Yeah, so I would say again, this is where I think you don't need to make a plan. I don't think a plan is needed for OMBAT. I think what you've got to do is read the requirement and ask and look at what the requirement is telling you to do. Then you need to flush out what all the tax impact points are, what the transactions are. Does that make sense? Yeah, and sometimes with partnership CGT, it's worth drawing out a quick timeline. Yeah, so you can it's all about the data grabbing. Okay, this happened here, the revaluation happened here, change in PSR happened here. So just kind of organizing it where there's lots of data. But yeah, but very, very quickly, I personally wouldn't plan on the screen for OMBAT. I would do it on a piece of paper, which they'll provide to you in the exam. That will help you take control.
Great. Another question, for a 20-mark written question, how long would you recommend spending on planning? Sometimes questions cover lots of topics and I find myself spending 10+ minutes on planning and issue spotting.
Oh God, no! 3 minutes max. You've got to read, line by line. What you've got to do is each sentence will have a clue. Okay, and I love this question. And guys, all of you listen to this. What some students do when they're planning, Ali, right? So I'll give you an example, Ali. Right. So Ali, if you were to make a curry, right? Okay. And let's say your husband said to you, right, Ali, tonight I'd love a curry, right? And let's say it's a chicken curry, right? You know in your head how you make that curry. Yeah. So what you would do is you'd probably, if you go shopping to the supermarket, you're just literally going to write 2 or 3 key things. Does that make sense? You're not going to write everything that's in your head because you're not going to write chicken because you've got to buy the chicken, right? Yeah. What some students do is they actually write up the whole answer on their plan. So they're over planning. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Yeah. Whereas what they need to do is it's a bit like when I teach large corporates, there's something called poem. And I won't go into detail what poem is, but there are very clear clues why we would talk about poem. Does that make sense? So my students know, right, look, poem, just write poem. You know there are 3 or 4 things that go with that model answer, then you apply it. So don't over plan, just get the key bits and allocate your time accordingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't list absolutely everything because stuff will come up as you're going. Just list the key things that you need to get across.
And you need to apply. So there might be some relevant numbers that support your theory that then turns into beautiful application, and you get those amazing marks.
I think, yeah, the applying it is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How should we approach learning for admin related questions, re PSA, PAYE, etc.? And should we memorize these or lean on the legislation?
Personal choice. Yeah, that's personal choice. Some people will prefer to use the ledge, some people, and again, keywords, but be prepared to apply it. Brilliant question. So where the OMB examiner gets annoyed. So Ali, if you said to me, Nick, when should I file when should my company tax return be filed? And if I just said to you, Ali, 9 months and 1 day, I know you're not going to be best pleased with that answer. Well, what 9 months and 1 day? But that is the rule. So what you get the fail student doing, and what I mean by fail student is they don't hit the marks that they could do. They just write 9 months and 1 day because that's the rule. But what you've got to do is actually look at the year end. So if your year end for your accounts for your company is the 31st of December 24, then the past student will say, yep, the year end is 31st December 24. Ali Limited's return needs to be filed by the 1st of October 25. Application. Yeah, that's what they're looking for. And so that's how you practice admin. You've got all those little rules, practice it, and it's there.
Great. Okay. For APS, over the next few days, should we do questions to time or just do as many as possible now?
No. I again, it depends how many you've done before. All right. So if you and we've done the whole APS chat already previously, I mean that in a nice way. If you feel that your timing is an issue for you, okay, then and you want to practice 1 or 2 and you've got time off, do 1 a day. But I would say stop by Friday. Friday should be the last day. What you've got to now do is really look at the pre-scene, okay, and really think about if that was a client in practice, Okay, what are your pre-scene points that you want to make? Does that make sense? I'm doing that with my class this week. Okay, we've got a session where I will go through the pre-scene in depth. Okay, I'm not making predictions. My students will not get predictions. I will tap into my 30 plus years experience, thinking, okay, if this was one of my clients, what are they going to do? We'll have a chat.
Okay. Is it sufficient to state the principle from case law, or do you need to also state the full case name, A versus B?
I think I've answered this already. So I've already said. I'll repeat it again. I think you don't need to state the whole case name or case facts. It's literally like the law shipping case. Yeah, that is not an official name. Okay. And so yeah, so that will do. The examiner, because the examiner is expecting that. Give me the judgment and why you've applied it.
Yeah. Next question. On the last webinar, you mentioned a plan for how you should spend your last 4 days. What is this? Is it a case of reading as many questions as possible and trying to pick out the transaction top points?
I think what it is, the last 4 days, you need to switch the brain off from like a learning perspective. Yeah. Because what you got to understand, you're going in for the biggest fight of your life at the moment in your life, right? It's 3.5 hours, it's tiring, it's draining. Yeah. And what I find is those students that keep hammering question, right? The energy levels are dipping every single day. And by the time they get into that exam, Ali, they're knackered. They're so tired. Yeah. What I want you to do is rest, be happy, have some really nice things planned for the weekend. I know there's an exam. All right. Don't go mad, but just literally have things slotted in. But what you need to do is you need to put yourself into exam mode with each question. Yeah. Read it for 10 minutes, plan it for two, keep doing that. You'll pick up speed, and you'll be absolutely fine. And you want to mess up as well. Yeah, you want to mess up. Oh, I forgot about that, didn't spot that rule. Yeah, and the only reason I'm telling all of you now, the only reason why you are going to mess up this exam is you're going to misread it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not your technical ability. You're going to misread it, and that's the only reason why so many good students don't hit the marks that they deserve.
Which is going back to what we said earlier about stopping on Friday, no more questions on Friday, and trying to relax and enjoy yourself. But I suppose it's going back to doing something wholesome over the weekend and not going out partying, right? Because you want to feel at your best on Tuesday onwards.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that what I used to do with my friends, right? And everyone's got a set of friends that make you laugh, or just I need that,
Yeah.
I need to be put in my happy place, and when I'm with these guys, okay, they weren't always the best. Like they were like, Nick, we booked your retake for you already, like you want that banter.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if you can just have that banter or just going with a friend and having a nice meal, whatever it is, yeah, you need to just especially okay, day before, and everyone has their own pre-exam routine, okay, where you need your own space as well. But I do think Saturday night, Friday night, you just need to just relax.
Switch
And
off.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Another question, I was probably relating back to an answer earlier, actually. Do you say the rule and apply?
No, not. You haven't got time. Yes, I'll repeat it again very, very quickly. So if you spot there's business asset disposal relief, again, what people do, they'll write about the whole theory of this is business asset disposal relief. There has to be a material disposal. You jump straight in and say Ali will qualify for business asset disposal relief because she has made a material disposal. Yeah, all the words from the principle need to be applied, and and it's something I've used before, Ali, double writing. So
Yeah.
what a lot of because the solutions do that. What the solutions do, Ali, they have to do that because people are learning from it, but that's not what the student has to produce. When you look at the marking grid, there's only still 1 mark for BADA. Yes, and you've got to decide, am I going to just write the theory and fail and retake next year, or am I actually going to apply it and do what the examiner wants me to do and get the most amazing marks in the world and move on?
Yeah. Okay. Back to planning. Would you think of all the points first before you start writing, or just think as you go along when you're writing your answer?
No, no, not at all. You got you if it's for advanced, whether it's advanced technical or APS, right? You've got to finish reading the question. Yeah, you've got to jot down what you think's coming up because it could be a last minute curveball. Yeah, you've got to read the question, and you only read the question once. You can't read it more than once because you don't have time. And then you literally start typing as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and this is where again a lot of students form judgments and conclusions too early, especially APS. Then when they finish reading it, thinking, "Oh my gosh, no, actually, you know." And on APS, what I do, and my students, can you please join in here if you don't mind? Because we practiced this last week. When they'd finished planning the question, I actually said to them, "Guys, don't start typing the answer. 10 minutes, sit and think." Just sit at APS, not for AT. Sit and think, what are you now going to do? Does this make sense? Okay, then go for the kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they loved it. That's what they told me anyway. Uh,
But in fact, actually, we could. Matthew Champkins, and one of my guys, has said, my ACA tutor always recommended leaning back in my chair 30 minutes into the exam to make everyone else think I was finding it really easy in order to rattle them. Do you endorse this level of psychological warfare?
that's no, that's mate. What are you worried about other people for? Just worry about yourself. Yeah. Okay. No, not at all. Yeah, not at all. No.
Uh,
Do you know what? Do you know? No. I mean, I remember I had a student in my exam. Oh my God. In those days, he bought like a whole picnic hamper.
Love it.
Seriously, you know, he was cooking while he was eating. You know, it was like, I'm surprised he didn't have a barbecue next to him. And I was getting so annoyed. You know, when that person, and my wife says I do this, I don't know if I do, right? But you know, when some people eat crisps so loud, yeah, and I can still remember as a packet of Walker's salt and vinegar. Still, I can remember this guy just chomping into him. Yeah, you know, it was, yeah, no, and
No.
yeah, no, no, no. Sorry, I went off tangent there, but yeah, yeah.
A slightly more serious question. Can you
Go on.
use abbreviations, for example, major change in nature, conduct of trade, can you use MCINOCOT, or should you put the full words, capital allowances,
See,
CAs, for another example?
See, I'm old school here. I think out of courtesy and respect, write it once, then abbreviate it. And I know different tutors have different views on this. Okay, the only ones where you wouldn't would be things like CGT, VAT, IHT. They're fine. But I
Yeah,
think anything else, yeah, I personally tell my students to do it.
yeah.
And I,
So
yeah,
state it all first, and then you can use the abbreviation afterwards because you're referring back to the things that you know.
definitely. Yeah.
Fine.
And also, but what I do also tell my students to do, like often they'll write really long client names.
Mhm.
Yeah, like my name is Nitin Rabheru, right? If you keep writing that in the exam, it's just too long. Yeah, so then you can do NR, or if it's a company name, yeah, like Pro-Recruitment Group would be PRG. You know, you
Yeah.
can use those, and the examiner's cool with that. That works.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice to know. Okay. Um, Someone said here, you have an APS course, question mark.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, you got to be booked onto revision.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. I know Tollies will do one as well. Tollies allow you to just come on their pre-scene debrief.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would actually personally, Ali, and my bosses, we've had this chat before. I wouldn't want a non-BPP student on my course for the last day, and my students will hopefully vouch for this, is because they've been conditioned the knit way from day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it would do more harm than good because they haven't been taught my way. They haven't
Yeah.
had the resources that the other students have. So yeah. And remember, if you're with Tolly's Kaplan or BPP, Tolly's and Kaplan, they are equally amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have this magic wand where I'm better than them.
Mhm.
Okay. It's yeah. So if you're with them, stay with them. They're brilliant.
In regards to mindset, what advice do you give to a student retaking? Maybe they've failed multiple times about staying positive and not fearing failing again.
What you've got to be really honest with yourself. Yeah. Why are you failing?
Mm.
Okay. And I've had students who I had one guy who passed OMB 80 on his fifth or sixth attempt. Okay, but when I could shout at these people. Okay, I could, and maybe the old me did it 10 years ago. Whereas now I look at everyone's on their own individual journey. Yeah, and I think sometimes these people don't, whatever's happening in their personal lives or professionally. Okay, I think for a retaker, for most retakers, you haven't worked hard. okay, or you've had a curveball in life that's thrown you off course, okay, and it's all about having self-belief, the skills that you need. A lot of the retakers say to me that come on my course or Libby's course will say, actually, I'm technically so much better now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably not, if that's you, where it was a technical thing and something you've appreciated the demands of CTA. Yeah, this is a whole session in itself. Um, but I do think you've got to get rid of your bad habits, whether you're a first timer or a retaker. Get rid of those bad habits. Really focus on what we're trying to help you with today. That I think positivity is good. Don't get intimidated in the question. Don't rely on this coming up or that coming up. Just know your tax. You will get through, guaranteed.
Okay. Somebody here is working up to the day before the exam. What do you suggest for revision day before?
I would personally say your learning still has to stop. Yeah, you've got to make a conscious decision where you're going to stop learning and literally focus on what you're going to do in the exam.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got different time absence, time off, and I get that. So yeah, you're going to need to just make sure the last couple of days before you need to get read and review questions.
Yeah.
And strategize. Yeah.
Or relax and let your mind just stop.
Yeah, I would say I think if you were to say to these guys, relax, completely. I know they're not going to buy into that. I wouldn't but you're not wrong, Ali. I think, and that's why I think the best advice I can give these lovely people is the more you read and review, it will also show you how you're coping with these questions. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And I've had last minute, very, very rare. I've actually had people pull out and actually say, you know what? I actually can't do this. And
Yeah.
I won't say, yes, okay, great. I'll say, are you sure? Because I will then say to that student, well, why don't you just go and have a go? Yeah. And I've had a student who did that, who literally was close to giving up and actually passed.
Wow.
And the reason why they passed, Ali, because what you said, they were relaxed. She goes, actually, I was more relaxed. So I thought I was going to fail. And I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen people perform the most amazing feats when they just literally flip their mind.
It's
Yeah.
so hard, isn't it? Because it means
Yeah,
so much to everybody here. The reason that we've
absolutely.
got over 100 people here is because we've got passionate, intelligent, bright, ambitious people on this call that all
Yeah.
just want to do really well and want to become CTA, ATT professionals. And so it means a lot to them. And I think if everyone just did take a chill, relaxed, everyone would perform more. But we're under time constraints. We're in environments where we feel stressed out, where we've got someone munching on crisps on our right and someone leaning back in his chair on our left. And it's stressful, right? So I think the more you can do in that last 2 or 3 days, and especially given it's a weekend, try not to cram, try not to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning. Give your brain a relax, because actually from Tuesday onwards, you're going to be quite stressed and anxiety levels are going to be quite high. So be kind to yourself on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday if you can.
I'm going to tell you something that I don't talk about a lot, but someone mentioned this to me, and I never used to believe it. That every single student, even your children, my kids, every student has a superpower when it comes to learning.
Mhm.
Yeah, and people don't realize they've got it. Yeah, people don't realize, they think it's all about ability, and that superpower is literally where you can go in that exam and you smash it. And a lot of people say, how do I do that? How do I do that? Yeah. And genuinely, for me, my superpower, the way I found it, is I read line by line. Yeah, and my tutor helped me get that superpower. Because I was one of those students, Ali, who would rush reading a question. Yeah, always got 19% in the mock. Yeah, and they'd get really fed up with me. And he said, and he sat me down and he goes, and I just needed someone to say to me, actually, I'm really good. Yeah, even when I doubted myself. And he goes, but look, Nick, you can't behave like this. Okay, these are professional exams. You are going into that exam. And the tutor said to me, actually, Nick, you're looking stupid. You're behaving stupid. You're looking stupid because you're acting stupid. And because I had respect for this tutor, I listened to him. And he took me through a question and he goes, right, can you just, and he took me sentence by sentence, Ali. And he goes, do you know what mark I would have given you, Nick? and it was a 20 marker. Ali, I've never got more than 4 on a 20 marker. Yeah. He goes, I'd have given you 17. And that was my turning point, and it's because of that guy I became the tutor I am today, and I try to be as good as him. I'm nowhere near as good as him. And that's what I want to do with these people. That's your superpower. You've all got it, right? Trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. And that's the best gift I can give these people. Yeah, I hope that
think
helps.
in summary,
Yeah.
Stop your papers on Friday. Stop. Look out for use your watch out sheets. So anything that you're not confident in, anything that you technically don't feel up to scratch for, that's what you should be revising between now and Friday. And then have a cut-off of past paper questions on Friday. Try and stay calm in the last 3 days leading up to the exam, and look after yourself. Do things that are nice. Be with people that are good for your soul. Smart consolidation on what you're actually doing this week is key. Learn from your mistakes, and going into your exam with a clear strategy, thinking today whether you are a Mike Tyson or what was the other one, Nit?
Mike Tyson. It was Autumn, wasn't it? It was Autumn.
Yeah, if you are Autumn Murphy or you are Mike Tyson, she's
going
to be so pleased she was compared to him. But yes, are you Autumn Murphy or are you Mike Tyson? Do you need to give yourself some time to warm up, or can you go in and smash it? I think
they both win the match. They both win the fight.
They do.
Either approach, yeah, absolutely.
That's it. We've got one more comment. When I come across something I don't know, it makes me panic and it really throws me off after, rather than focus on what I do know.
See, I love this question. And
yeah,
listen, that exam is going to make you crap your pants, right? Every question. That's what you got to get ready for. That's the fight. Yeah. And do you know what I say to my students? Move on. Just if it doesn't connect on the day, move on. Yeah. And you've got to find your superpower now. Now is your moment.
Yeah. Someone else has said, I used to be the same, but now I ignore it and carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. There are still 98 marks available. Go and find them.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Like, put that question right to the back and go for the other stuff. That Sharon sounds like your strategy is go for the questions that aren't going to, like Nitin said, his technical term, aren't going to make you crap your pants.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Right, guys, we are coming to the end. I'm very conscious of everyone's time here. Nitin, thank you once again for just being fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Ali, and your team have been amazing. We guys, we do this. We have no agenda, Ali. I'm actually on holiday today, and we do this because we genuinely care. And there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes. The most amazing, the gorgeous Lauren, and her team that put all of this together. And I'm just, again, I say every session, Ali, love you loads. You're amazing, and thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you, no problem. Oh, we've got one last question. Very quick one. Small question. For numbers, can we use K instead of lots of zeros for the thousands?
Again, some tutors are happy. I personally write numbers in full. That's me. I'm old school. Yeah, I don't see it as an issue. Yeah.
Okay. And a quick follow-up. Do we need to use commas to separate numbers and questions and stuff? I would, right?
Yeah, ideally, yeah. It won't take time. It just looks really good.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, listen, good luck, everybody, for your exam next week. Do let us know how you get on. It'd be great to hear. And hopefully you found this session really useful.
Thanks, guys. Good luck. Go and smash it. Go and win. And let us know how you get on.
Yeah, good luck. Bye.